Hey everybody, Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com, back with some more Pittsburgh Steelers preview and prediction for this Week 4 game in Dublin, Ireland between the Pittsburgh Steelers and Minnesota Vikings. Both teams 2-1, Pittsburgh trying to go to 3-1 into their bye. Let's talk about it. Before we start, if you guys could like this video, subscribe to the channel, and check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Would really appreciate that. We'll start with the Minnesota Vikings offensive preview there. Normally, you're excited and in some ways relieved to see the backup quarterback in, Carson Wentz getting the nod for the injured J.J. McCarthy, but frankly, I would have probably rather to face McCarthy in this game than Carson Wentz. The good news is that Wentz has a game under his belt in Minnesota, last week's blowout win against Cincinnati, so there's some tape on him in a Kevin O'Connell run offense. But Wentz, the more veteran type of player, the one that can read and process quicker, the ball comes out a whole lot faster, 2.55 seconds last week for Wentz. McCarthy was over 3 seconds per dropback before getting hurt, and that would have, I think, done Pittsburgh a favor, even though McCarthy is more mobile and the more talented player in terms of physical, arm talent, that type of stuff. But Wentz is the guy in this one. The Vikings running game will be without Aaron Jones, their top back, and they're going to miss him as much as a receiver as they will a runner. And so that component, Pittsburgh will have to worry less about with the starter, Jordan Mason, formerly of the San Francisco 49ers. It's kind of a plain Jane run scheme for the Vikings, downhill, duo, nothing super crazy. Hopefully Pittsburgh can be up for the task. Look at his offensive line from Minnesota. 2 really good tackles, and left tackle Christian Darrisaw returning last week from injury, and the Pitt kid, Big Brian O'Neill. So can Pittsburgh win along that interior that has some injuries? Vikings without their starting left guard in this one. The center, Brian Kelly, I believe, will play in this game, but I think Pittsburgh can attack the interior, both, of course, in run defense and pass rush. For the Vikings passing game, there's, of course, really good individual talent. Justin Jefferson, one of the top, if not the top receiver in football. The return of Jordan Addison off his 3-game suspension. We'll see about snap count, and will he be full go? Maybe not quite, but probably not far off from what the beat writers in Minnesota are saying. TJ Hawkinson at tight end's a really athletic threat there. He came back midway through 2024, recovering from injury, and probably really feels like his normal self again in 2025. So in some sense, Minnesota has a New England approach in their pass game, their pass concepts. They like going 3-by-1, 3 receivers to the trip side, the tight end backside, and see how defenses respond to that. Will it be a linebacker, a safety? You roll a safety down, your coverages might be more limited. The Patriots had success. The tight ends went off against Pittsburgh. Hunter Henry, 2 touchdowns. Austin Hooper had some plays as well. But unlike New England, Minnesota has real threats at receiver that can really scare you and win in that sense as well. In Jefferson, Addison, Naylor, who's kind of the run after the catch type of a guy. So can Pittsburgh handle the backside tight end effectively better than last week? And they handle the trip side, those top end talents they like to use, Minnesota does, switch releases and make sure defenses are communicating and passing things off, things that got Pittsburgh into trouble last year. We'll see how it goes this season. Minnesota's defense, obviously really good unit, coached by Brian Flores, the one-time Steelers coach. The run defense has been a bit weaker. I think some of that is schematics. Minnesota plays a lot of too high. They invite and kind of quote-unquote allow the run. So Pittsburgh certainly in any game has to run the ball, really paramount in this one. The Vikings front, though, still has its own challenges. It's a good front. Up front, Javon Hargrave, the former Steeler, Jonathan Allen, a pedigree guy. Those guys are playing well overall. The overall pass rush, first-round pick in Dallas Turner. You have Jonathan Grenard, who, for my money at defensive end, might be one of the most, if not the most, underrated edge rusher in football. He's got 12 sacks in back-to-back seasons. Only, quote-unquote, only 1 sack this year, but 5 quarterback hits. He sees a lot of attention. Just a lot of people who can get after the quarterback. But when you talk about a Brian Flores defense, you talk about the schematic chaos that it can present, the stress it puts on offenses. They will mug up everybody to the line. You don't know who's rushing. You don't know who's dropping into coverage. And they don't just do it on 3rd and long, which is where most teams do it. They're going to do it on 2nd and 5 and second down situations to really ramp up that pressure. And frankly, it can be just hard because that picture looks the same every time when they mug those guys up. So you can't, I'm sure there are tells and tendencies, but it can be hard to decipher who's going to rush and who's going to drop, when and where, and how many on any particular play, which really makes things tough for a Steelers team that has not shown to be great in handling some of these defenses and all the schematics that good defenses can present. To combat that, obviously running the ball, staying out of those and-long situations is really important. I think Aaron Rodgers himself is really important, not just from the adjustments and checks and calls that Rodgers can and will make at the line of scrimmage, but his use of cadence in this one is going to be really important, and he's very good at it. He's a veteran, and like most veterans, he's really effective and uses it. He can use the hard count to be able to uncover some of those blitzes. So if you go on a hard count and the defense kind of tips its hand of who's going to rush and who's going to drop, that's going to be valuable information. But I think just as valuable is some of the quick counts Pittsburgh hopefully can go on. I don't know if they're going to have to work on a silent count. I don't think they will. It should be a lot of Steeler fans out there, but international game, crowd just kind of cheering and loud for everything and for everyone. We'll see, but that's for the hard count. Also on the quick count, can you be able to get the ball off quickly in some instances so the Vikings don't have time to play their pre-snap games? They like to rotate safeties and move people around. Guys close to the line like to spin them back and vice versa. So going quick sometimes can prevent Minnesota from being able to do all that and have to kind of play it a little more straight up. So the use of cadence overall is going to be really important in this game. Also, I should mention for the Minnesota offense, kind of a fun fact, at least to me, over the last 2 games, both of which were at home for Minnesota, they have false started 7 times. They were second in the NFL in false starts, all of which has come over those last 2 games. So with some crowd noise on the road, hopefully more Steeler fans, like I said, can you stem the front? Can you do some things to put those guys in the first and 15 or get them to flinch early? That's going to be a goal, or at least a hope, in this game. For my prediction in this one, and you guys know me, my predictions are not always true. I think I'm good at predicting how the season will go big picture before the season starts. Game by game, I'm kind of a coin flip. And I picked it wrong last week. I think I picked it wrong 2 weeks ago. I forget, but don't have a great track record right now. So maybe you'll be happy about this one. I just struggle seeing Pittsburgh's offense, it struggles, the run game, the offensive line protection, just how painful the offense has been. It's been good situationally. It's been good out of the gate. That's an advantage, but I just see a lot of issues in this one. So to stop hemming and hawing around, I got Minnesota winning this one convincingly, and I really give a score prediction this far apart. Minnesota 28, Pittsburgh 10. Certainly hope I'm wrong about that, but I think Vikings, really good coaching staff, Kevin O'Connell, I think it's going to be 2 steps ahead of what the Steelers are doing, and I just think Pittsburgh's ills and pass protection, a young offensive line trying to come together, I just don't have a good feeling about this one. Pittsburgh defensively can make some plays, hopefully can take away the run game, but I think, again, facing Wentz, I would have rather had McCarthy in this game than a veteran in Carson Wentz, and dealing with some of their skill guys in Jefferson, Addison, the return of him is big, and Hawkinson at tight end. So maybe it's 21-10 and Minnesota gets a relatively late touchdown. Who knows? But I think Minnesota wins this one pretty comfortably. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Drop your score prediction. Are you on Team Alex in the sense of picking Minnesota to win and to win potentially by a decent margin? Or will you take the Steelers in this one? That would be a huge win to go to 3-1 into the bye and really have good control of the division, even though it is still early on with the Ravens 1-2 facing the Chiefs. We'll see what happens there. And the Bengals, they're 2-1, but without Joe Burrow for most, if not the entire rest of the season. So let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel, check out the site, SteelersDepot.com. Ton of post-game analysis and review on the site, bright and early on a 9:30 a.m. kickoff. Game should be over around 1 o'clock when the rest of the Sunday slate gets started. So thank you again for listening, and we'll talk to you soon.